our 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham. James, we were really excited to play some sound from Domantas Sabonis that you took here just a few minutes ago. But, you know, they started playing some music. It wasn't the easiest thing to hear. So how about I just ask you, how receptive was Domas to Mike Brown's press conference last night?
You know, it's really interesting. If you heard last night, Kevin Huerter, and then Harrison Barnes today, and then Sabonis. Sorry, like it sounded like someone was dribbling a basketball on my phone. I don't know. Like
Right.
sometimes it's like that. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, I think that when you look at like the way that this group has received the message from Mike Brown all year long, it's something that both Harrison and Domas talked about. It's that there's been a consistency that it doesn't waver. There's nothing that's wavering with Mike Brown. He is coming at them this same exact way each and every night. And I'll say this too. Whatever Mike Brown tells us in the media, it's something that he's already told his team. Mm-hmm. And so we've had this disconnect before where a coach will say something to us in a post-game press conference. And just go back a couple of years, like before COVID, it used to be that the coach would come out and talk, and then they would release the media. We would run around the corner, like down a long hallway, and go to the locker room, and then go in and talk to the players directly right afterwards. Now we have this thing where they bring up two players. Sometimes the players come before the coach. Sometimes they come after the coach. So a lot of times, like our job is to react to what the coach is saying, and then go ask the players about it. And so we haven't really got a lot of that because we might get a player, we might get two players in the locker room, but it's after hours of waiting sometimes. And so I think this was a unique situation where we got Mike Brown. Then we were able to ask Kevin Huerter about it. And I thought Huerter was spectacular last night. And it's the same thing. Like all of them were saying, like the message is the same. Whatever you guys just heard, we already heard it. We heard it at halftime, and we heard it after the game, and we heard it last week. And, you know, even Harrison Barnes brought up, like, this isn't the first time we lost a game. We almost lost a game because of offensive rebounding. He's like, does anyone remember Steven Adams, like, killing us on the boards and winning a game with Memphis? Like, we know, but, you know, it's good. Like, the consistency is here all year long, and they're all bought in. They're all still like, it's working. We're not going to argue with what Mike's doing.
And what'd you think about the game last night? I thought that was a playoff-like game from the start. I mean, I thought the intensity was there in the building. I thought the two teams played with the level of intensity. The Knicks bring a level of defensive intensity that you would probably think you would see in the playoffs. There were some pluses and some minuses, but at the end of the day, they came away with the win. But what'd you think about that game last night as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, the fans were incredible. Like, hat tip to the fans again. Like, this city is so ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot wait to be in the building for these upcoming playoff games. And, like, at this point, you can say it. Like, the chance of the Kings falling out of the actual playoffs is virtually nil. But just the way
9%,
yeah,
according to Basketball Reference.
there we go. Yeah, just the way that the building is responding to every single big moment. I mean, it's really crazy. Even the groans, you know, from the fans. Like, if you don't think the fans understood that offensive rebounding was a problem last night, you're wrong. They were all over the team every single time. I mean, there were possessions where they got 4 offensive rebounds in one possession. And I thought for one of the few times this season, the Kings actually played really good defense. They just didn't finish the possession and get the rebound. And to see a team shoot 17 more shots than their opponent and lose, that's pretty big. That means that you did some things the right way.
And not only did they do them the right way, James, they did them a different way. Like, we have numbers that we look at. The assist number was up. I think it was like 28. But Kenny always talks about 12 plus threes, 12 plus threes, 12 plus made threes. They had 10 last night. They still got to 122. They had 17 less possessions, as you noted, than the New York Knicks. Still got to 122. Still found a way to win a game despite getting cussed out by your head coach immediately after it.
Yeah. I mean, and look, they've gone 7-1 since the break. But he said, Mike Brown had a really interesting line today at practice. He said, we keep reminding him that slippage can be invisible. And I thought that was such an intriguing line. For me, I watched, the Knicks, they missed a lot of threes really badly. And I know, I'm not just going to say that it was all long rebounds and bad luck, but a lot of it was. There were so many rebounds that were just flying off the rim and going 12 feet away from the basket to where a Knicks player was just happened to be. Clearly the Kings have to do a better job, especially on a guy like Hart. You just can't let a guard go in and get 15 rebounds, including 8 offensive. That didn't make any sense. Put a body on somebody. And it was a problem with everybody. That's one where it showed you, look, this wasn't an everybody issue. All 8 or 9 guys that played, all of them failed on the defensive glass. But he still won the game.
Yeah. I kind of felt like last night it was a bit of an anomaly. There's been certain games, like Harrison pointed out, where they've had the other team offensive rebounding issues. But they've been fine. The Kings have been fine as defensive rebounders for most of the season. Last night was just one of those things where it was this is crazy. You can't, almost you're in the Matrix. You can't get out of it, right? Mm-hmm. And guys like Josh Hart and Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, they almost, it became contagious, and they almost kind of got in the zone the way shooters get in the zone with rebounding and offensive rebound. They tasted it a little bit, and they got thirsty to get more because they're hey, I like that. I want to get after it a little bit more. And the Kings just couldn't stop it last night. But let me know what you think, James. I don't think that's indicative of a problem this team routinely has, or am I off on that?
No, they're 7th in the league in defensive rebound percentage. They've been in the top 5 almost the entire season. So have they had some regression there? Just a little bit, but not a whole lot. And sometimes that's because you're going with different lineups. You're going smaller at times. You're using Trey Lyles as a center, the backup center for more minutes now, which means that your 4 is going to be smaller. So we're seeing some trickle down as far as small ball lineups. I had noticed over the last month or two that we hadn't seen hardly any of Kevin Huerter at the 3. We saw more Kevin Huerter at the 3 last night. We saw 3-guard sets with Monk, Mitchell, and Fox. So we are seeing some smaller lineups, which the Kings like because they can get out and run, but it does hurt you on the glass. And you can't just rely on Sabonis to get every single rebound, especially when they're flying off the rim. The one guy early on in that game, I'll tell you, that I thought did a really good job of rebounding outside of his zone. So your rebound zone basically is, maybe a bubble of 6 feet around you, and that's your zone. But the long rebound stuff, I thought Keegan Murray did a really good job of chasing down rebounds that were flying off the rim at weird angles and stuff. And then he didn't play a lot. And I don't know why that was. Maybe it was a matchup issue that Mike saw. It's also trying to temper his minutes to make sure he gets some bounce back here. But I thought he did an excellent job on the glass early in the game, and they went away from him a little bit.
Real quick, I was just going to mention, look, I know I bring this up with these guys a lot. I'm not saying this is how it should be. I would love for them to do it a lot more than what they did. But I mentioned it earlier. And I'll ask you your thoughts on it, Ham. When they stopped giving up offensive rebounds? In crunch time. Last 5-6 minutes, they stopped all that. They got defensive stops or whatever. And I don't know what it is with this team that they can't do it more during the game. But when it gets down to crunch time, it seems like I don't want to say flip a switch because they're not lights out, even though they're pretty good. But they do turn it up a notch on the defensive end and whatever's going on. If it's defense or if it's rebounding, they turn it up a notch and they get a little bit of level of focus. And I noticed that towards the end of the game last night, they kind of stopped all that offensive rebound stuff in the last 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, going back to the Memphis game, that was not the case. They specifically lost that game because they could not get a defensive rebound in the last 2 minutes of the game. And I'll bring up something too. John Bull says something in the chatty house that the Kings are a team. We like a lot of people were concerned that the Kings were going to watch other teams gear up for the playoffs, and the Kings have not been in this situation before. And all of a sudden, they are one of the teams that you feel like are gearing up for the playoffs, that are getting better. And I mean, I think that that's a surprise to everybody involved, whether it's Mike Brown or it's that, even some of the players. Like, I think this is surprising the way that they're continuing to excel, but it's like the self-fulfilling prophecy thing. Like, once it starts to happen, you just keep making it happen more and more and more. And all of a sudden, the Kings are finding like their legs within this playoff chase where all of a sudden, like I even wrote about it, like maybe 3-4 games in, where I don't think that they're the hunted. Like we kept saying this is a moment where the hunters become the hunted. And I don't think that that's the case. They still feel like they're hunting. And it's something that I don't think anyone fully expected. Even Mike Brown. Mike Brown has like talked about this as much as anybody, about how after the All-Star break, that's when things get really, really tight. And the Kings have just done an absolutely magnificent job of rising to the challenge. And it's interesting to see because they haven't been through this before as a group, and now they're doing it. And I think it's fun to watch, but it's really stunning.
You mentioned this regarding Keegan. Were they watching De'Aaron's minutes last night? Or did it just work out that way?
No, he kind of got in foul trouble. And then he got poked in the eye. That was the other thing. Yeah. He got poked in the eye. Like I was sitting next to Sean, and Sean has this camera that can zoom in from like a million miles away, like super, super close. And I'm like,
very invasive that Sean Cunningham is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's not if he ever becomes a private detective, he's not someone you want chasing you around, like watching to see what you're doing. Yeah, he's able to like zoom in on their bench. And I said, hey, Fox looks like he's messing with his eye. Can you zoom in? And sure enough, he was sitting there on the side. Like he went in around, I think, the 8-minute mark of the second quarter and came out at the 6-minute mark and then missed a bunch of times. So yeah, his minutes were sort of, diminished because of the injury.
Okay. We got into Domas and everything that happened today. Were you surprised at the way Mike Brown approached the press conference last night?
No. I mean, I think like the players knew the bright lights were there. I think Mike Brown knew the bright lights were there too.
It's a lot more than James Ham in the building today, so he was going to let his team have it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I thought he was really, really good. He was passionate about it. And that's not to say that his team hadn't had some slippage, what he's talking about. I agree with him. But I thought it was interesting to see him call out De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis by name and say this is a moment where the leaders have to get on their teammates in the moment on the floor and say, we have got to rebound. We've got to do these specific things. We have got to get better in the moment. And those are the guys with the big voices in the room. And they have to that's where they're taking their next step. I thought that was interesting, but I also, like, if you're Mike Brown and you've been through this before, you were part of the Cleveland Cavaliers as they built up to their playoff runs and, where they got better and better. He was part of, some great runs there in Golden State, where you get to a certain point in the season and you see some things that aren't going quite right and you need somebody to say something that's not your voice. It's what every coach will tell you. The moment that you see your team pull themselves together and say, okay, this is a problem, and actually problem solve themselves without having to you sit there and coach them through it, that's like the moment that you feel like you've made it. And I think that's where Mike is now. He's gotten through all of these steps. Now it's like, okay, I didn't know that I would be at this stage where in year one, where now it's time for me to start cranking up my leaders and saying, like, if we're going anywhere, it's you two. And I need you two to figure it out right now, how to make your teammates better, how to get on your teammates, how to hold the players accountable in the moment. And I need it now. So it's just another part of the build up to the playoffs. But again, like, who knew that we would be in this situation right now where Mike Brown is having to like go to like, skip to chapter 14 in the book of things that he's got to teach his team on the fly.
Do you think, because we were just talking about this a little bit before you came on, do you think De'Aaron Fox has changed in that, like in what ways? Like last year we were saying, hey, we need him to be a leader. We need him to, talk, communicate, all this other stuff. Do you think he's the same Fox in that respect? He's just, maybe got better teammates around him or whatever? Or have you seen him be a different person when it comes to vocally being a leader out there?
I think he's a better player. And I know that that's not one of the options you gave me, but like as far as like the things that you're looking at, when he decides he's going to take over, every one of his teammates are in awe just like everyone else is. They're not in awe as in they're just standing there watching. They're working hard to get him open. They understand what's happening. They see it happening, and they're embracing the fact that they have a guy who's going from, fringe all-star to possibly all NBA right in front of their eyes. They see it too. And so that's the type of leader that I think he is. He's a sarcastic, like snarky guy. You saw him and Monk in their like sort of goofball moment in the post game. And he has those moments, but he's pretty quiet, and you're watching him like command respect with his play. And I think that that's something that we didn't know. Like, of course, he's capable of doing that, but to this level where all of a sudden he's like the best clutch player in the NBA, one of the best scorers in the fourth quarter in the NBA, a guy who's in the top like 14 in scoring in the league. Like, we didn't know that he could be that player, and I don't think his teammates knew coming into this year that this was a leap he was going to take.
Domas just casually went out and had a triple-double for the second game in a row. And we were talking to Chris Herring of SI about this earlier. Do you think Domas is underappreciated league-wide?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, without any question. Like, even when the Kings traded for him, like, I knew Domas. I had watched plenty of him. I knew he's a really, really good player. Watching him on a nightly basis is just, it's so workmanlike. The dude just brings his lunch pail and his hard hat to work every single night. And you just, there's such a, when you can go from using a pencil on stats to using a pen, it changes everything for a coach. When he knows exactly what he's going to get from 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 players, and you can start relying on it each and every night. I've never seen a player outside of Jokic and maybe like Russ when he was really rolling Westbrook, that you could almost pencil in a triple-double every night. I mean, if he was concerned about having a triple-double and was focused on getting a triple-double, he would probably have 25 on the season, maybe even 30. I mean, he's got 9. And how many has he missed by 1 rebound or 1 assist? How many has he missed by 2 rebounds or 2 assists?
Yeah.
And he always says it, the only way, he said it today at practice too, the only way for me to get a triple-double is if my guys hit their shots. So like a triple-double is a team thing. It's not on me. Like if I get a triple-double, it's because my guys actually hit their shots. And so I guess the reverse of that is he's blaming his teammates for all the triple-doubles he doesn't have. But that's not really what he's doing. I mean, he's the guy who's going out there and he's not worried about stats. It's just happening, and it's really, really fun to watch.
The crazy thing about it is I was sitting there watching the end of the game last night, and, I saw his number. I think when he got the triple-double, it's like, oh, Domas has a triple-double. And, in my mind, I was like, this guy really is like a smaller, not smaller physically, but like a smaller production-wise or whatever you want to say version of Jokic. Like he's a poor man's Jokic or whatever you want to say. I got to thinking, I was like, nah, he's better than that. That's disrespectful to this guy. Put up 24, 13, and 10 last night. Like what?
So
what does he need to do? He need to be 30, 20,
I know.
and
we mentioned this earlier. We teased it as we often do and never went back to it because we got sidetracked doing something else, as also frequently happens here on this show. But I think the same is true for De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Like Jokic and Joe, they get those like 50, 12, and then like a 9. Or I think Jokic had like a 40, 15, and 10 this year. Domas just consistently does the 20-something, 15-something, 10, 11-something because he doesn't have the big gaudy number. I think that what really separates, and Dame is on like this historic like scoring run, or has been on this historic scoring run. People would be talking about De'Aaron scoring a lot more if he had like 160 in there. Yeah. If he had just gotten like a 60 or a 50 in there, because that seems to like spring people's attention more than he's just consistent. He's dropped 30 like 10 games in a row. Yeah. He would have been better off dropping 36 games in a row and then hitting a 60.
Right.
I think that would have gotten people's attention more.
I think
it's that gaudy number that's missing.
Yeah, it's like the old baseball commercial, the chicks dig the long ball commercial, where so many people are just focused on home runs. And at the NBA level, I remember this story with Matt Harpering, where Matt Harpering had been like just a really, really good, solid NBA player for a long time, but he was in a contract here, and he said, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to average 18 points a game. And he did that. He got paid because he averaged 18 points a game, and he went right back to being the player he should have been, because he understood that him scoring 18 points a game wasn't helping his team win anymore. It was just making him get more money. And it really does come down to scoring average, I think, when you talk about what separates Sabonis from some of these other guys. Like, he's second in the league in, win shares? Yeah, he's second in the league in win shares, behind Jokic. Like, he's one of the most impactful players in the league without any question. He's taken a team that won 30 games last year, and they're at 39 with 17 games remaining. I mean, what he's been able to accomplish is just absolutely crazy. And he's doing it under the radar in Sacramento, which is kind of like who he is. He's a workman-like, blue-collar guy who goes in there and gets crushed. And I think that might be the other thing. He's not like this physical, crazy, like, you look at Jokic and some of his like wild followaways and stuff, or you look at Embiid and how he hits you with the 3 ball and then all of a sudden he gets downhill. Like, those guys just do it in a flashier fashion, and I think Sabonis fits perfectly in Sacramento. He just does. He fits the town. He fits the type of player that you needed, but he just goes out there and brings it every single game. And it, again, like watching DeMarcus Cousins on a nightly basis, some of the things he could do, like as a man that size, you like the whole time you were like, I can't believe how he just ran full speed down the court, did a 360 spin between his legs, contorted his body to cut through 3 people in the lane and finish without running 6 people over, because that's what you assumed he would do. And it was just, he's so gifted athletically. And I think you're starting to get that appreciation for Sabonis, where you just start to expect greatness from him every night.
Me too. I do expect greatness from him every night. Same with De'Aaron Fox, and it's why this thing has worked out so well. And I think it's why Mike was comfortable singling them out last night, because he knows how they'll respond. Mike had another moment, and you posted this clip on your timeline last night as well, and it's where Mike specifically was speaking about De'Aaron Fox and how he thinks De'Aaron Fox can get to an entirely another level as a superstar. And it felt like in front of, the national media that was there last night for that game, he was going to let everyone know how great his players are. And I think Domas's, and particularly De'Aaron Fox's case, how great they can be moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, he is campaigning so hard for both of them to be all NBA. And I think Sabonis is a shoo-in for second or third team all NBA. Depends if you can make him a power forward in the like voting. But he's so close to that. I mean, I think it's probably a no-brainer at this point. Fox has a tougher, journey to all league just because of all the guards that, like the Western Conference, Eastern Conference, whatever. There's so many good guards in the league. And so he's going to have a tougher battle. But I think Mike's biggest sort of takeaway I had was he was telling everyone just that this guy can be maybe not LeBron, maybe not Kobe, but he's right there. Like if he wants to be, there's another level for him to go, and he doesn't understand it yet, but he's getting closer to understanding where he can be as a player, and that Mike is going to be there every step of the way to try to get him to that next level. And you hope that that can happen. I'm not sure if it can or not. If there's like a much higher level that Fox can be in, but and Mike even specified like it's not about like scoring more. It's about getting his teammates involved, playing defense for longer stretches, and doing these other things that star level players have done throughout their career to be impactful in ways that don't always show up in the stat book. They show up in the win column.
And see, that's what I was trying to figure out too. Like, what's that next level? I mean, is it more consistent on the defensive end? I think the way the offense flows with like Sabonis doing a lot of the initiating, it'd be hard for him to get more assists on a any given night. I feel like defensively, I feel like he brings it a lot. Like he brings it a lot more than a lot of people at his position. You know, star players and guys that score a lot. So I wonder what like that next level was. I kept thinking, maybe consistently on a 3-point shot, but I mean, is there something that you see that he could do a little bit more that could get to that next level that Mike Brown's talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like you're always like I think a lot of the time it's about mentality. Like who is he as a person? Does he realize that he can take it to another level? Does he realize what it takes to get to that next level? Can he like, turn it on and all of a sudden be that next step up? And I don't know who like I would compare him to. I think that's the problem too. You've kind of got to a spot where like he's so different than almost every other guard that you're not sure where that next level can go. And you're also like that a lot of his success is built on speed and quickness, and those are things that are like it's hard to separate him from other people. It's hard to like look and see how he compares. So I don't know what the next step is for him. But I also know that like if he's going to take a next step, I think there has to be like one more mental adjustment for him to get him there. Like this was a big one where he got a taste of being an all-star. He's being mentioned as all league, and he's probably going to win the clutch player of the year and all that stuff. He's getting a taste for all that stuff, but you want him to not only like feel like he's one of the best players, but go out and take it on himself to actually be one of the best players in the league. And it's something that we've seen from a lot of these guys that I just don't think that next step has happened for him yet. Although he's been really, really incredible so many times this year.
We'll come back. We'll talk more Kings basketball. We've looked back, so maybe we'll look ahead. They've got the Phoenix Suns tomorrow. We know how big these two games that they have coming up over the next few weeks with the Phoenix Suns could be for the standings, but also they've got the Milwaukee Bucks coming to the Golden One Center on Monday. So we'll talk more with our 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, James Ham, when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, Steeler and KC on ESPN 1320. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. That's good.
Huge.
It's good booking there, pal.
Yeah, man.
Somebody asked about Sabonis' thumb. We've talked about that a couple of times in the last week. He said he's just playing through it, and it is what it is, and they'll re-examine it after the season and see if he needs to have surgery or not. But for right now, he's just cruising along. And oh yeah, you just asked again. Yeah.
Hey, James, could you tell us about Sabonis' thumb?
He's got two of them. They're opposable.
Start.
They help him go like this. I don't know.
I'm sure that's what he likes to do too.
Yeah.
Like little sock puppets.
Yeah. Hitchhiker's Guide. What is it? Even Cowgirls Get the Blues? Is that the one with Uma Thurman with the giant thumb? I think so.
Cowgirls Get the Blues.
Yeah, it's based on a book. I think it's called Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. I'd have to look it up. But
I'm afraid to Google that. I feel like something else will pop up.
yeah, so Uma Thurman has like an abnormally large thumb, and I think she realizes that her life is to be as someone who hitchhikes because she has an enormous thumb. Yeah.
So you have to be a big star to make a movie like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was back when she was a big star.
Man, well, she was such a big star, she doesn't need to be one anymore. She's on that level now. Was she's like Quentin Tarantino's girl, right? Like was she in
Kill
Pulp
Bill.
Fiction? I was gonna
Oh
say.
yeah, and Pulp Fiction. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Which you guys haven't seen still, right?
I'm not seeing.
No.
And John Bull brings up Megan Fox has toe thumbs. She does. She has weird thumbs.
The little small
Hey.
thumbs.
Since there's 540 people watching, 1, hit the thumbs up. 2, hit the subscribe button. 3, come hang out with us at Sky River Casino next week. James, I didn't even get a chance to talk to you about this last night because we were discussing other things. We're doing a live broadcast from Sky River Casino next week, next Friday. We're doing the entire show from 12 to 4. There is absolutely no pressure for you to drive from Amsterdam to Elk Grove. However, we would love to have you if you want to come out.
However, okay.
12 to 4, we're doing the entire show live from Sky River Casino.
Is there a Kings game that day?
There is not. They play the Brooklyn Nets the night before.
Oh.
We were actually hoping to have that Thursday slot for the opening of the tournament.
That would have been phenomenal.
So we could do the show 12 to 4 and then put the big TV on the Brooklyn Nets. I say a big TV. It's like 100 feet. It's gigantic.
It's huge.
Put on the Kings Nets, but we're doing Friday. So
okay.
We could talk.
Am I
more.
allowed to wander around and be a degenerate gambler while
Absolutely.
I'm there?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
I'm gonna guess they would prefer that.
Are they going to comp us chips? See,
we have not discussed that, but we did have a plan to go grab a steak and an old fashioned after it was over.
Ooh, okay.
Did you see? I think it was just on socials. You see the Sac State Hornets women's team? They came home to campus yesterday. That was pretty cool.
I didn't see that. No,
yeah, it was pretty cool.
I like the pop that they got at the Golden One Center last night, though. That was pretty awesome.
They had a champions welcome back on campus.
It's like a smattering of applause for the football players who were there, and then they put the picture of the women on the big screen, and they got the big cookie pop.
They kept showing people in the stands last night, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like they're like,
they had a bunch of football prospects in the stands.
They had some B actor. I'm like, who is this guy? Why are you here? Why are we panning to you? What's
Josh
that?
Childress was there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is he an agent now or something? Like, what is he doing?
He might be.
I don't know. I think Josh Childress was sitting right next to the guy that I had no idea who he was. And then we looked him up, and I'm like, well, that didn't help. I looked him up. Still don't know who he is.
They had a bunch of football prospects there, though, like the TCU quarterback.
I feel like this has happened before where a bunch of the quarterbacks have been out here.
Maybe.
I don't think that was the first time. And the Palmer brother was out here.
What Palmer?
Yeah, Jordan Palmer.
Was it Jordan Palmer? Yeah.
Yeah. Dante Pettis was there. I remember that. I swear,
I
looked
they've
up
had the quarterbacks out before.
I looked up the movie actor right in the middle. I'm like, okay, that didn't help me to look him up. I still don't know who you are. I'm never gonna find it. He's too obscure even to find in my phone.
Are we talking about the same guy? Did I miss him? Dr. David said Zeke was there.
Zeke. Dorian Thompson Robinson was there for sure. See, people are just looking. Are you gonna ever come up? I don't know who the guy was.
John Bull Roseville to Elk Grove isn't that bad.
Wait, Blake Bortles wasn't there, was
he? It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
From my house.
Well, from James's house, that's different.
That's
different.
Yeah, Elk Grove.
Yeah, Ramsey selection Sunday party. I think they're going to LA, man. That's what bracketology has them. It's updated. Long Beach State is now going to Utah. So I think they're going to LA to play UCLA.
Russell, if I had a chance to look at the A's roster, like, why? I mean, I get your question, but like, no. I mean, yes, I've looked at it.
What the hell is going on? Are we? How much longer is the break? Oh,
we're back.
Yeah, hang on. Man, them advertisers knew James Ham was on. They're like, yo, let's get in during the James Ham hour. Let's get in here during the James Ham show. We appreciate you so much for being with us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button as well. We appreciate everyone being here. Obviously, James, how much fun is this for you? You know, you did the corporate stuff for so long. You've covered this team for so many years. And you've been, at the top of the list of A1 reporters for this franchise. But you did it through NBC Sports California. That's a great job. But now you get to build like your own platform. You get to build your own thing, and you get to do it in a year where this team is cooking.
Yeah, I'm having a really good time. I really am. It's such a change mentally to be able to have the freedom to write whatever you want, to have the freedom to podcast and to go on the radio and do things like this all the time. For me, the life change was substantial, and I don't regret it at all. Like, this is really, really good. Just the mental toll that this team puts on you year after year. I've talked about, I probably have covered 10, 50 lost seasons, and I don't know what people think, but you know how difficult it is to write losing game recaps 50 times in a season, and then another 2 stories after that, and just keep plugging away and covering drama and relocation attempts and coaches getting fired. This is my 9th head coach. What is my 4th front office? But yeah, my 4th front office. So you just get used to the chaos and all that stuff. This has just been a good group of guys, a coach that's a complete breath of fresh air, a coaching staff that it's top notch. All of them are good guys. It's a total family atmosphere for those guys, for everyone around the team. To see young players get better and players become stars and all stars. It really has been one of those seasons where just it feels like it's magical the whole time, and you're always wondering is it going to end? And of course it will end at some point, whether that's in the first round or it's in the, they win a ring, heaven forbid. You have no idea where it ends because they've played so well offensively, and you just don't know what this team is going to be. But it's definitely been different, and I feel still this late in the season to feel fresh and ready to continue and not have to watch hours and hours and hours of college game tape of prospects. That's been really, really nice.
Yeah, no, it's the same way. This is usually about this time is when I take a break from the NBA and I lock in completely on college basketball with championship week and the first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament. And I haven't watched the conference game yet, except for some random one like Toledo and Ohio are playing right now. But as far as at home, setting my DVR to it, no, I'm watching the Kings. And if I'm not watching the Kings, I'm watching Lakers and Grizzlies because the Kings might be second seed, all this other stuff. And it is a change of pace. It is something that's pretty fun to experience. And, one of the things that I think about with this playoff drought, because we were talking about the Knicks yesterday in the drought that they broke a couple years ago. I was thinking about the Warriors, the drought that they broke. I think the Kings is a little different, not just because I'm closer to it, but because there was a lot of stuff that happened in between there. It wasn't just losing basketball.
Yeah.
It was they're going to lose this team. and had to fight and pledge season tickets and, relocation, all this other stuff. And that was on top of the bad basketball. And to make it through all that, we've got one of the first class arenas in the league. And now you got one of the best teams in the league. I think that's what's going to add a little bit to it when, they finally clinch that spot.
Yeah, I made an entire documentary on that. Like, like my resume is weird. Like if I were to if I were working at a job where I was interviewing people and my resume slid across someone's desk, I'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to hire him or not, but I certainly want to pull him in here and talk basketball.
Ask some questions.
I got some questions. Yeah, like these walls can talk. Yeah, so it's been, I think for me again, like 12 years of chaos. Like this hopefully will be a really cool payoff. And okay, it couldn't happen to like a better group of guys. Like they talk about like culture and chemistry and how things have been missing and all these things, and you don't really know it because you're just stuck in the middle of their bad culture. There are times where you feel the bad culture for sure, but then like to see good culture and to see a game again in game, what was it yesterday, like 65, to have a coach call out his two stars in a winning game when they won 7 out of 8 because he needs to be them to be more vocal leaders, and to see the accountability for this team and to have guys talk about accountability and how, even Kevin Herter was like, yeah, like after the first month or two of the season, we got it. Like this isn't going to shut off. Like this is going to be who he is the whole time he's coaching us, and we have to adapt. And so like all of these things that kind of stack up, like, look, this is fun. I'm happy for Vivek. Like I've told you guys that. Like if Vivek can win, like maybe the tide can turn on how people think of him.
I hope so. And tomorrow could go a long way in securing their spot in the playoffs. They have their first of 2 matchups over the course of the next 2 weeks and some change against the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant won't be available. He won't be available for either of those matchups. I don't think that's particularly a big deal. This Phoenix Suns team is very, very good. Devin Booker doesn't give a damn who's on the floor with him. He's going to try to go for 40. He's very capable of going for 40-plus every night. I got a feeling about this game tomorrow. I actually feel really good about the Kings' chances tomorrow. Part of it is because I look at last night's game, and one of the things that we talked about yesterday, and we were talking about this with Anthony Slater before the game yesterday as well, they're aware of teams that they lose to. And I think they're aware of teams who kind of rough them up. The Knicks roughed them up at the Garden. And I thought that rebounding stat that they had yesterday was going to be a focal point. And the Kings looked really good rebounding against the Knicks for a half. If you just look at the first half, they rebounded really well. Anything that happened after that, that's different. But I think they were aware of how the Knicks roughed them up. They've dropped 2 to Phoenix already. And now, this particular game, you look at where everything is at the standings. You look at the situation with who's not there anymore and who hasn't played against Sacramento yet. I think the Kings know, hey, ramp it up a little bit more. Go out there and fight with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I mean, the Kings know what a win in Phoenix would mean. I mean, you're already at this point, you're 3 games up on them in the loss column. They've already, like, the separation between 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 through like 12 is now like 7 or 8 games. Like the Kings understand that. I don't think that they're so much like standings watching as they just kind of like they know where they are and they know what they've got to accomplish. And I think beating the Suns, it's another thing that you kind of highlight that they need to figure out how to do. This is one of those teams that they could face, and maybe they won't. It doesn't look like the Suns are going to be a team you face in the first round now, but you very well could face them in the second round. And like, it's crazy that we're talking about potential second round matchups, but like this could be a 2-3 matchup in the second round. And so you have to actually think about those things and what it would mean to actually go out there and beat them and show them that you're the same caliber. And the Kings are much better against teams the second time they play them. They've
Mhm.
beat, I mean, they've beat almost everybody. Like they've beat Denver. They've beat Memphis. They've, even the teams that they're competing with. I mean, they're 3-1 against the Lakers, 3-1 against the Clippers. They've gone into every single one of these games and got better the second time around and shown that they can actually hang. And so, you're going to have more of those games coming up when you look at the Bucks and the Celtics coming up in the coming weeks. But just for right now, you need to show a Pacific Division rival, and that's what it's become at this point, that you can hang with them and you can beat them.
You heard
Yeah,
it here
that's-
first. James said the Kings will beat the Bucks on Monday. That's how I took it.
Well, look, the crazy thing.
Celtics are going down next
I'm
week.
sitting there thinking, and I think those are the only two teams in the league that haven't beaten.
And
think
Phoenix.
they-
So Phoenix.
And Phoenix, yeah.
Phoenix, Milwaukee,
three teams.
Boston. Have they played Philly twice?
They lost to Philly twice.
Okay.
So, now the list
So all of
goes.
the title contenders on the they beat Cleveland,
They beat
who's
Cleveland
the fourth
twice.
spot over there.
We beat them twice.
yeah.
They split with Memphis.
Did Toronto get them twice?
No, they got Toronto once in Toronto.
Okay.
The Kings lost to Atlanta twice. They're
man.
Atlanta got them.
Yeah,
That's
they're
right.
0-1.
This list is terrible, Kenny.
They split
Jeez.
against Charlotte. They,
teams at first.
they did beat the Cavs twice.
And he was like, "There's only two teams the Kings
Yeah,
haven't
got
beat."
to
Till
like
he thought
8.
about it.
Until we thought about it.
Like 8 teams now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're 2 up against Memphis. They split with Memphis. They split with Miami. They're down 2-1 to Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah.
Miami,
that's
their
what's
first
going
win
on.
of the season was against the Heat on a
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon at a Golden One Center.
That's right.
That's
Why
funny.
they played at 2 p.m., I don't know.
Beam lit at 4:00. There's something in the sky. What the hell is that?
What is that?
What is
Yeah.
that? Just get that fixed. They still got two coming up against Portland. Yeah, there's
2 against Utah.
2 against Utah.
1
yeah.
against the
Both-
Spurs.
Yeah, the 2 Portland games are in
On the road,
Portland.
yeah, they're on the road.
What are the Utah games? Are those on the road too?
1-1.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got, let's see, Utah on March 20th and on March 25th. One is at Utah and the other is at
So
Sacramento.
That Utah home game is back to back.
yeah,
They play
Phoenix is the night
yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the last back-to-back of the season.
They
still got Chicago. They got
Yep.
the Wizards. They got the Nets.
That's next week, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's next week.
We're starting to see the teams, though, that aren't going to compete and that are like, this is that last stretch where there are going to be some teams that go, okay, we're good. We won enough. Like, it's time for us to go backwards. So,
I don't think the
especially in
Kings
this
are
draft.
playing any of those though.
Well,
I think Utah can be in that spot.
Oh,
some
Okay.
of those guys already made the decision.
Yeah.
I
San
got you.
Antonio.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
that's
a shootout.
that's saying it. That's the only one though, right?
I
I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it depends on how you feel about Utah. Utah's
how you feel
Yeah.
about Utah? What happens with Portland by the time they see them?
that's
That's true.
still a few weeks away. That's a good call.
The Wizards and the Bulls are both fighting it out for the back end of the they're the 10 and 11 seed in the East.
And the thing I don't think we like. I mean, Chicago, like Billy Donovan, might be fighting to keep people off his back. Like he might a play-in could be, Billy Donovan returning next year.
Would you say Billy Donovan fight for his life?
He might, which I think is ridiculous because I just don't think the Chicago Bulls team is very good.
Right.
And losing Lonzo Ball has
Oof,
been devastating
it's
for
tough,
them.
man.
They spent a
Just-
lot of money on players that weren't of the caliber that you needed them to be and who haven't lived up to their contracts.
Hi, Atlanta. You just described
Yeah.
the Atlanta Hawks to me.
No, it's very true. Yeah, and then both teams I think have had regression from young players, which is never good. That's something I think Trey is regressed. John Collins has seriously regressed with Atlanta.
I can't blame John Collins for regressing when his name is brought up in a trade, like every moment he's available to be traded. So like the second the season's over and he's able to be traded, his name is going to come up in trade conversations again.
Yeah, even before they paid him, he was already in trade rumors. You're like, man, what are you doing?
Are they? Where are they?
They have managed
They're
that
in the
thing.
play-in though, huh?
They are. I think they're 500, right?
33 and 33. Good knowledge.
The Bulls?
No,
Hawks.
the Hawks.
They would.
Oh,
And they're 8, so they're gonna. I mean, if they hold on to that, they're gonna get 2 opportunities to get into the.
I haven't watched them in a while. That is just. I've said it before. I do not like that team. I do not like them at all. I haven't watched that team in a long time.
I do like Quinn Snyder though. Man, they're on their third
I
head
forgot
coach.
he's their head coach. I haven't seen a Hawks game since he's become the head coach.
Yeah, that's wild.
Epitome of average.
Oh, I completely forgot.
And they are 5-5 in their last 10.
And so did Quinn take over at the break? I can't remember how many. Yeah, about that.
5 games ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at these guys, but like I said, 33 and 33, 5-5 in their last 10. Their point differential is plus 0.1.
Oh my gosh.
They are the epitome of average.
Even Stevens.
My goodness. Porzingis had 43.
Yeah, he was cooking in the loss.
Yeah,
wow.
He was out there getting buckets. Would you take Kristaps Porzingis? No, I'm just kidding.
Nope.
Those days are gone.
Those days are over.
Those
Did we ask James the question? No, we did, because Alan Hahn asked us yesterday. Yeah, Alan Hahn of ESPN New York joined us for a few minutes after his radio show yesterday. And he asked, in New York, we really like the team in New York, and we're thinking, hey, this is a great turnaround for them, and we're thinking about the future. And I look at you guys. You guys got this great squad here. Have you thought about the future? And we're all like, no, we're trying to get through this year. Have you thought about what the off season might look like and what this team might look like in the years moving forward?
Is this the start of something? We haven't even thought about it like this is the start of something. We're just like, thank God we're here.
Not today, devil.
Yeah, don't you jinx that. Don't you look ahead. No, I haven't at all. I think it's wild. When you've covered this team and you've seen so many bad moments, I even brought it up to Harrison Barnes today. I mean, Mike Brown is 2 wins away from being the second coach in Kings Sacramento history to put up a 500 season. Only Rick Adelman has ever been 500 in a season. And those 8 seasons, outside of that, the Kings have 29 losing seasons. So, you can't look far ahead. And you hope that they're building something. And they still have a shot at 50. They're actually pacing right now. They're at 60. They're a 600 win percentage. They're pacing for 49.1 wins. It's wild. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is let's take it one day at a time. Let's enjoy each and every moment, and this is a good thing. It's fun to watch. Most of their players are locked up under contract outside of back into the rotation guys, and there's going to be changes for sure on this roster, and they know they need to add stuff like what we talked about at the trade deadline. It's not like any of those issues have gone away. They still have issues that they need to deal with in the offseason, but for right now, this is a group you're going to fight with and you're going to war with every night. And it's a team that should be able to do this more than 1 year.
Alan's response was really funny. He was like, "You're not? No. What? Thinking about the future. No, we're trying to go 1-0 every day." He was just so surprised that we hadn't thought about this.
And it's
the beginning of something new.
No, sir, we're looking at 2-3 days from now.
And this team could go to the Western Conference Finals. This team could go to the Western Conference Finals, losing 7 in quadruple overtime to whoever. And immediately once the offseason starts, man, I hope we don't mess this up. Man, I hope we don't blow. What are we going to do now? There's going to be a certain level.
We blew our shot.
Oh, and don't let the officials get a call wrong. Not against us. Don't let the officials get a call wrong.
But what if they never lose? What if they win it all?
What if
they do? What if
That
they
would be
do?
the story. That would be
What
the
if
story.
they
What if?
do? It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy that this team comes out the West. I really don't.
I don't either.